Bill, good morning, and thanks for being here.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you can't use cliches, Mundo. Okay?
Oh, that's great.
But there's a more serious thing than just petty annoyances here. And people who say the same things over and over and over again, and that is pretty much every cable news person, okay, are lazy thinkers. They're not formulating precise points of view. They're falling back on us. Well, what do you make of that? You know, how many times have you heard one of these cable people go to a guest? What do you make of that? What's your question, lady? What's your question, bud? What do I make of, what do you want me? Take the whole thing? The whole Constitution? What do I make of it? I like it. It's good. And that is laziness.
Mm-hmm.
It's also an indicator that the interviewer doesn't know what he or she is talking about. Because when you don't know, then you can formulate a general question using a cliche like, well, we'll have to wait and see. Thanks. That's great. So I just gave you 15 minutes of my life, and the take is I have to wait and see. Why don't you tell me that up front so I wouldn't waste my time?
Oh, that is so true. And that's why you're having great success at BillO'Reilly.com. Bill, let me just start here with the last 10 days for President Trump. The strikes on Iran conducted by the men and women down here at Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri, the foreign policy successes, the Supreme Court wins late last week, the stock market hitting record highs. Just stepping back, was last week the best week that Trump has had during his time as president from 1.0 or 2.0? Is that a fair characterization?
I don't know about that. I think in his first term, many of Trump's policies, they weren't immediate policies, but they were well grounded, particularly in the inflation area, and of course the tax cuts. So to say that last week was his best week, I don't know if I want to get into that kind of evaluation. But in 2017, Trump cut taxes and got Congress to okay it until now, and that's what that big bill is about. They want to extend it forever, which is not really true because the next Congress come in and knock it right out. But last week, what Trump accomplished was that in the short term, he shut the mullahs down, shut them up, and the stock market, for whatever reason, and I'm not a financial guy, is going up exponentially, so that looks good for him. But I think longer term, all of these things are going to have to play out, particularly the tariffs. And then you're going to have to go into Putin, which is unbelievable. And I'm going to do my YouTube commentary. And we want everybody, the YouTube channel for Bill O'Reilly is free. It's youtube.com/Bill O'Reilly. And I do different things there than I do on the No Spin News. But I'm going to analyze why Trump has not persuaded Putin to be a human being. And a lot of it's in my book, Confronting Evil, which comes out September 9th. But we're going to do that tonight. But anyway, Trump had a good week. I worry about some of his people becoming arrogant. I've seen it. They're getting a little bit too taken with themselves. That's not good. So that's where we are.
So is it up to the president to keep those who might be getting big-headed in line, or is there something else that needs to happen on that front to not have bad things come out of it?
I've seen it in every single administration. So as you know, I interviewed 5 presidents. I mean, I go all the way back to Gerald Ford. And I never met Nixon. I never met Reagan. Those are the 2 guys that I did not meet. But I've seen it as a historian almost every administration that once these people get a taste of power and some success, got to be fair, then they really start to strut around. And that's not good. This is like being an overconfident sports team.
Mm-hmm.
I am sensing some of that coming out of the Trump administration.
What would you advise President Trump to do to make sure that doesn't get worse?
There's nothing he can do because he has so much to do directly with running the country. He can't supervise all the departments.
Mm-hmm.
No human being could. And that's why some of these people, not all of them, but some of them, get out of control. They aren't being held to account. As long as they do their jobs, as long as they're not causing Trump any problems, he's not looking into how they're behaving. I mean, it's a good word. Some of them are misbehaving, but not at a level that would draw his attention.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the exception to that was Musk. That's the best example I can give you.
Mm-hmm.
So Musk was hired to run Doge to cut out government waste, and then all of a sudden he's telling Trump what should be in the budget bill. Mm-hmm. That's a little bit, wait a minute, I hired you to be the third base coach, not to make out the lineup.
Yeah, you did see that with Elon. So is this stuff, last thing on that point, is this stuff that you're seeing, in public that other Americans may pick up on, or is this stuff you're noticing behind the scenes privately?
Privately.
Okay. Gotcha.
Although there have been, some foolish statements, but I deal with these people, as you know,
mm-hmm.
All the time. And I dealt with I didn't deal with the Biden people so much because that was just a hopeless situation.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't get in touch with anybody there. But I dealt with Obama a lot. And there was a point in the Obama administration after they passed Obamacare that they got out of control. And Trump's people aren't there yet, but I'm seeing a little bit of that stuff, and they ought to tamp it down. I may have to go public on it if it gets worse.
Mm. Bill O'Reilly, he's on KCMO. Always great here. So, Bill, this big, beautiful bill that's obviously going to be the topic of this week in Congress, the president wants to sign it by Independence Day. Is this a deadline that he should really be holding to, or is this something, in your estimation, he should back off of and make sure Congress does it right?
Congress will never do anything right.
Fair point.
If you're hoping they're going to do something right, you're going to be waiting for a long time. So if I'm Trump, I want to sign this tonight. I want to get it done. And the reason is the bill is all over the place. I mean, it's thousands of pages long. But the tax cuts are the key to the American economy. You cannot tax people anymore. You can't. And the Democratic Party does want to. And the other stuff you can adjust to. The Medicaid supervision, the SNAP stuff, all the free stuff, that can be adjusted. The tax cuts can't. That goes down in flames. The economy goes down in flames. So if I'm Trump, you got to get that thing done. And he's, behind the scenes, he is bringing unbelievable pressure. And he'll get it done because the Senate was the big holdup, and they passed it 51-49 over the weekend. And Rand Paul's hopeless, so you're never going to convince him. Okay? Tillis is, they knocked him out of the box in North Carolina. Boy, oh boy. And, he deserves it. And you know who's going to take that seat?
Who?
His seat in 26? Lara Trump.
Oh, okay. Really? So she's been rumored, but you think that this is finally a go time for her?
You're hearing it first on the Pete Mund program. She's a lock.
Wow.
And she'll win.
I've heard that she's got her own show now on the weekends there at Fox, and she's always been known to be one of the better communicators when it comes to a surrogate for the family and the administration. Do you believe that?
Very articulate. It's not going to give you a lot of nuance. It's going to be straight party line. But if you like the party, she is a very, very articulate woman.
All right. There you go. The Supreme Court decisions on Friday, Bill, a lot of big wins for the president there. Is there one of those that stands out to you above the rest that will have the biggest impact on the American people going forward?
Well, I predict this would happen. You can't have judges in Seattle shutting down presidential executive orders. It doesn't matter what party it is, because then you have chaos and anarchy. Can't govern. So that wasn't a tough call in the Supreme Court the way it's aligned now. Wasn't surprised. The birthright citizenship thing, Trump's going to lose that. So everybody's jumping up and down now in the White House saying, oh, we got some wins, and that's true. But they're not going to knock out the birthright citizenship. What they'll do is they'll tighten it up a little bit. There may be, if you're here illegally and you give birth, then you're subject to review rather than automatic. See what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're stuck in here just to give birth, which some women do, then a federal court oversight could disqualify you. I think that's how it's going to come down. But Trump's not going to be able to knock out a constitutional provision by executive order. I don't believe that he's going to win that.
Mm. So, Bill, as we head through the summer here, I got my advanced reader copy of Confronting Evil. I'm excited to go through that this summer here. But I'll tell you what, with the guys on the cover of that book, Bill, you are going to knock this thing out of the park. I mean, you couldn't have timed this better with where the world is at right now, huh?
So lucky. Somebody's looking out for that book.
Yes.
Because when we wrote the book and I designed the cover, as I always do for my books, I threw on Hitler, everybody knows, Mao Zedong, and then I got to contemporize it. I can't just do that because a lot of those are well worn, although we came up with stuff about all of these guys. And they're all guys. I wanted to get a woman in there. I couldn't find a woman who reached the level of evil as these 14 guys that we talk about. Anyway, so I threw Putin and the Ayatollah on there just to contemporize it. And now they are in the forefront of the news. So you're right. This will catch people's attention. It's a good book. I mean, and it's a book that you'll learn something on every page that you didn't know. You thought you knew everything about these heinous people. And then we get into cultures, entire cultures, like the Roman Empire and Genghis Khan. Nobody knows about Genghis Khan. He's the worst mass murderer in history.
Wow.
By far. Nobody knows anything about him.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
And what he did influenced Europe and Asia, and how he did it is just harrowing.
Wow. I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, and I'm specializing in evil now. I don't know how that happened, but life is. When I was over in China, I got a good look at what Mao Zedong laid down, because that police state, boy, that is as intense. Every person on this earth should understand what's going on in China.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Bill, it's always great to have you here. And listen, I know you're not a New York City resident, but with that being your hometown, if that crazy guy Mamdani wins, just know you got a home here in Kansas City if you got to finally pull the trigger and leave. I know you're not going anywhere, but if you're thinking twice with that guy Mamdani, just know Kansas City's got a spot for you.
Well, that's very nice of you, and I like KC. I'm 8 miles away from Armageddon.
Yeah.
My house is 8 miles away from the New York City border. And Nassau County, where you're from, is the safest county in the country, crime-wise. And you cross that line into New York City, it's like that movie Escape from New York, Snake Plissken. That's what it's like.
Mm-hmm.
The social disorder is unbelievable. And it shows you because Nassau County is a conservative-run county. New York City is a liberal-run concern. And you can just see it with your own eyes, the absolute chaos. And this Mamdani, if he is elected, that'll be the collapse. The city will collapse because all the big corporations, not all of them, but many of them will move out.
Definitely a story to watch. Bill, we always appreciate the time. The YouTube channel, search it there. Just look up Bill O'Reilly. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, BillO'Reilly.com. Still well worth your time as well. And Confronting Evil coming out in September. Bill, have a great week. We appreciate the time as always, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, have a good summer, Mundo. Thanks for having me on.
You as well. Bill O'Reilly on KCMO Talk Radio. Great to have him here as always.